Hi, everyone. Um, we're going to start. I'm Terrence Arjun, the manager of 192 Books, and we're here tonight to celebrate the publication of Francesca Wade's Gertrude Stein and Afterlife, out this year from Scribner. Gertrude Stein's salon at 27 Rue de Fleury in the 6th arrondissement of Paris is the stuff of literary legend. Many have tried to capture the spirit and glamour of the place that entertained the likes of Hemingway, the Fitzgeralds, Picasso, and Matisse, but perhaps none as determinedly and self-consciously as Stein herself. In the new biography of the author, collector, salonier, and tastemaker, Francesca Wade reanimates Stein's lives and afterlives. I'm going to skip the bios of the readers because we'd be here all night, but they're on the handouts that were handed out to you. Francesca Wade is the author of Square Haunting, 5 Women, Freedom in London Between the Wars, and Gertrude Stein and Afterlife. She has held fellowships at the Leon Levy Center for Biography, the Dorothy and Louis B. Coleman Center for Scholars and Writers at the NYPL, and the Harvard Radcliffe Institute. Her writing has appeared in the NYRB, the LRB, the Paris Review, Granta, and other places. We are lucky to be able to host this event at Paula Cooper Gallery, which from 1973 to 2000 hosted the annual Making of the Americans reading. On New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, it ran for over 56 hours, and it featured what looks like every artist and writer in New York at the time, including a few of the readers here tonight. And much of that work was made possible by Jean Rigg, and I'd like to thank her and Paula Cooper for laying a lot of the groundwork for this evening. And thank you to Sophie Cal, whose show On the Hunt is up now, and who's happy to have the event in this space. This month, she's on the cover of the Brooklyn Rail and Cultured magazine, and her show at Paula Cooper is going to be up through October 18th. Her first U.S. retrospective was at the Walker Art Center last year and is traveling to Orange County Museum of Art in January 2026. So we have 7 readers here tonight, and their names are Charles Bernstein, Erica Hunt, Erica Kaufman, Eileen Myles, Ariana Reines, Anne Waldman, and Laurie Anderson. And they'll be reading in that order. And as a way of expressing my affection for all the readers, I chose a segment of Stein's Dr. Faustus Lights the Lights. Yes, they shine all the time. I know they shine, I see them shine, and I am here. I have no fear, but what shall I do? I am all through. I cannot bear to have no care. I like it bright, I do like it bright. All right, I like it bright. But is it white or is it bright? Dear, dear, I do care that nobody can share. And before I hand it over, our event is being live streamed on PCG Studio and will be archived after tomorrow. And Francesca Wade's book is available at the back for sale, along with a selection of works by the readers and by Stein. And last thing, we partnered with Dalkey Archive to offer you pre-orders of the new reissue of Making of the Americans. And that's going to be out on November 18th. But after the reading, go to the back, and Francesca will be there and sign books as well. Thank you, and I'll pass it on to Francesca.
Thank you so much for coming. I feel like I've been dreaming about this event for years, and I'm so excited we're all here. I want to thank Paula Cooper for having us here in this beautiful space, and Terence Arjun of 192 Books and all of the 192 Book staff for wrangling this idea into reality, and to Sophie Cowell, who was happy for us to gather among her work. I'm so excited to spend more time with her show. And as Terence said, it's especially meaningful to hold this event here because Paula Cooper Gallery has such a special place in Gertrude Stein's Afterlife. We're not staying over tonight, hopefully, but I'm so delighted to have this incredible roster of poets and artists with us who have all engaged with Stein's work in their own ways and are going to read for us pieces they've chosen, personal favorites out of Stein's enormous body of work. So just briefly about my book. When I first started this project 6 years ago, I was planning to write a short book, a kind of meta-biography exploring Stein as a self-mythologizer and a self-archivist, and drawing on papers which Janet Malcolm irresistibly wrote half a book about not being able to see. But as I went on, Stein's writing just drew me deeper and deeper under its spell, until I realized I wanted the book to be something bigger, something that would place her writing right at the center of her life, where it always was. I think Stein's legend has become so enormous that her writing is often kind of ignored when it's not being mocked or castigated or lampooned, but exploring and engaging with her work and reading it as the product of an extraordinary mind and of a rich and fascinating and complicated life lived in a spirit of utter commitment to art has been such a rewarding and invigorating experience. Stein is a challenge. She requires a whole new way of reading, and her work makes you question every assumption about the way language works and the way words relate to the world. It's very easy to dismiss Stein, as so many have over the decades, but it's so much more exciting, I think, to take her seriously. And Stein was convinced that her time would come. In 1926, she wrote that truly radical work is never appreciated in its own time. An artist, she said, is an outlaw until he is a classic. She is a classic. But she really believed that her work would come to be acknowledged as a great and radical achievement, even if she didn't live to meet the readers who would ensure that that legacy lived on. I suppose someday I will be the acknowledged grandmother of the modern movement, Stein wrote in 1921, after a string of rejections. But over the years, it's really been poets and artists who've kept her work alive, who've shared it with each other, who've passed her books around, who've published it themselves and engaged with it, taken its ideas and possibilities forward into new forms of writing, whether in homage, in critique, or, as Kenneth Koch put it, in the feeling that one is suddenly free to write something almost entirely unlike her, but that wouldn't be possible if her work weren't there. It was reading Stein aloud and hearing her work read aloud that really unlocked her for me at the beginning. I think on the page, sometimes your eyes can kind of glaze over the words without really kind of sounding them out, but when you hear Stein aloud, I think the rhythms, the clarity, the humor, and the kind of depths start to emerge, and it's a really kind of special and beguiling experience. So I know that tonight is going to be a serious pleasure, and as Stein said, if you enjoy it, you understand it. So in that spirit, I'm so pleased to welcome our first reader, Charles Bernstein.
We cannot retrace our steps. Going forward is the same as going backward. Life is strife. I have been a martyr all my life, not to what was won, but to what was done. Do you know because I told you so? Or do you know? I have never asked anyone to forgive me. All my long life, all my life, Gertrude Stein died at 72, 4 years before I was born. And in that year, 1946, she finished her opera with Virgil Thomson, the mother of us all, about suffragist Susan B. Anthony, channeling her voice through Susan B.'s. In the intermission at the New York City Opera's production 25 years ago, I heard a man muttering, "What is Stein saying? What is she saying? I do not know what Stein is saying. I do not know what Susan B. is saying." This is what she is saying. This is what she says. This is what Gertrude Stein says. This is what Susan B. says. She says, "Yes, I was." "You mean you are?" "No," said Susan B. "No. When this you see, remember me," said Susan B. Susan B. said, "Here I am. I am here. I am here, ready to be here, ready to be where, ready to be here. It is my habit. I know, no, you like everyone and you, each one and you, they all do. They all listen to me. Utterly unnecessary to deny. Why deny? They themselves, will they deny that they listen to me? But let them deny it all the same. They do. They listen to me. All the men do. I speak as loudly as I can," said Susan B. "I even speak louder. I even speak louder than I can. Yes, I really do," said Susan B. It was dark, and it was dark. It was necessary to speak louder or very softly. Very softly. "You know very well I do," said Susan B. "Men are so conservative, so selfish, so boresome," said Susan B. "They are so ugly." And said Susan B., "They are gullible. Anybody can convince them." "Listen," said Susan B., "they listen to me. Let us not forget that in each place men are the same, just the same. They are conservative. They are selfish. And they listen to me. It's easy to be right. Everybody else is wrong, so it's easy to be right." And Susan B. was right. Of course, she was right. It is very easy to be right. Everyone else is wrong. It is easy to be right. And said Susan B., in a way, yes, really, in a way, really, it is useful to be right. It does what it does. It does do what it does. If you are right, it does do what it does. I, Susan B., really and truly, I do not mind. No, readily and truly and really, I do not mind. It was very necessary never to be cautious, said Susan B. Men are conservative, dull, monotonous, deceived, stupid, and unchanging, and bullies. Yes, men are men. Well, said Susan B., let us go on. They always listen to me. Yes, said Susan B. Yes, they always listen to me. Near hours are made not by shade, not by heat, not by joy. I always know that not now rather than not now. Yes, and I do not stamp, but I know that now, yes, now is now. I have never asked anyone to forgive me. Do we do what we have to do, or do we have to do what we do? I answer, A life is never given for a life. When a life is given, a life is gone. If no life is gone, there is no room for more life. Life and strife, I give my life. That is to say, I live my life every day. Rich, to be rich is to be so rich that when they are rich, they have it. To be that they do not listen. And when they do not hear. And to be poor is to be so poor they listen, and what they hear, well, what they do hear, they hear that they listen. They listen to hear. That is what it is to be poor. But I, Susan B., there is no wealth nor poverty. There is no wealth. What is wealth? There is no poverty. What is poverty? Has a pen ink? Has it? I know that we suffer, and we suffer. As we suffer, we grow strong. I know that we wait, and as we wait, we are bold. I know that we are beaten, and as we are beaten, we win. I know that men know that this is not so, but it is so. I know, yes, I know, says Daniel Webster. I who was once old am now young. I who was once weak am now strong. I who have left everyone behind am now overtaken. I undertake to overthrow your undertaking. Says Susan B., men cannot count. They do not know that 2 and 2 makes 4. If women do not tell them so, there is a devil creeps into men when their hands are strengthened. Men want to be half slave, half free. Women want to be all slave or all free. Therefore, men govern and women know. And yet, I am not married, said Susan B. And the reason why is that I have had to do what I have had to do. I have had to be what I have had to be. I could never be one of two. I could never be 2 in 1, as married couples do and can. I am but one and all one, and so I have never married to anyone. I love the sounds of these. 1 over 2, 2 under 1, 3 under 4, 4 under more. Yes, it is wonderful. As the result of my work, for the first time, the word male has been written into the Constitution of the United States concerning suffrage. But, says Susan B., yes, but what is man? What are men? What are they? I do not say that they haven't kind hearts. If I fall down in a faint, they will rush to pick me up. If my house is on fire, they will rush to put the fire out and help me. Yes, they have kind hearts, but they are afraid. They are afraid. They fear women. They fear each other. They fear their neighbor. They fear other countries. And then they hearten themselves in their fear by crowding together and following each other. And when they crowd together and follow each other, they are brutes, like animals who stampede. And so they have written in the name male in the United States Constitution because they are afraid of black men, because they are afraid of women, because they are afraid. Men are afraid. And women? Women often have not any sense of danger. After all, a hen screams pitifully when she sees an eagle, but she is only afraid for her children. Men are afraid for themselves. That is the real difference between men and women. But Susan B., why do you not say these things out loud? Why not? Because if I did, they would not listen. They not alone would not listen. They would revenge themselves. Men have kind hearts when they are not afraid. But they are afraid, afraid, afraid. I say they are afraid, but if I were to tell them, their kindness would turn to hate. Yes, the Quakers are right. They are not afraid because they do not fight. They do not fight. I fight, and I am not afraid. I fight, and I am not afraid. And what will we win, asked Susan B. What will we win? Win the vote for women? Yes. Someday women will vote, and by that time it will do them no good, because having the vote, they will become like men. They will be afraid. Having the vote will make them afraid. Oh, I know it. But I will fight for the right to vote for them, even though they become like men, become afraid like men, become like men. Do we do what we have to do, or do we have to do what we do? When this you see, remember me, said Susan B. Yes, now is now. It does what it does. It does do what it does. When this you see, remember me, said Susan B. We cannot retrace our steps. Going forward may be the same as going backwards. We cannot retrace our steps. All my long life, all my life, we do not retrace our steps. All my long life, but we do not retrace our steps. All my long life, and here we are here in marble and gold. Did I say gold? Yes, I said gold in marble and gold. And where is where? In my long life and effort and strife, dear life, life is strife. In my long life, it will not come and go. I tell you so. It will stay. It will pay, but do I want what we have got? Has it not gone? What made it live? Has it not gone? Because now it is had in my long life. My long life. Life is strife. I was a martyr all my life, not to what I won, but to what was done. I have never asked anyone to forgive me. Do you know because I told you so? Or do you know? Do you know? My life, my long life.
Good evening, folks. Stein does this wonderful thing between sound and sense. And for me, Stein opened when I heard it read out loud and when I read it out loud. Yeah. So I want to echo Francesca there. I'm going to do something and see if it all works. A little complicated. I have a little music. Oh, I have a little music. I'm dedicating this reading to my mother, who died this past summer at the age of 107. So, lived a long time. It is rather a curious thing that it should take 100 years to change anything. That is, to change something. It is the human habit to think in centuries, and centuries are more or less 100 years. And that makes a grandfather, a grandmother to a grandson or a granddaughter if it happens right, and it often does about happen right. Is it the human habit to think in centuries from a grandparent to a grandchild? Because it does take about 100 years for things to cease to have the same meaning that they had before. It is a very curious thing that everything is a natural thing. But it is a natural thing, and it being a natural thing makes it a curious thing, a very curious thing to almost anybody's feeling. One is always having to talk to oneself about it, that a natural thing is not really a strange and a peculiar and a curious thing. So then there we are 100 years. Does more or less make a century, and this is determined by the fact that it includes a grandparent to a grandchild, and that is what makes it definitely different one time from another time. And usually there is a war or catastrophe to emphasize it so that anyone can know it. It is a very strange thing that such a natural thing is inevitably to all of us. Such a strange thing, such a striking thing, such a disconcerting thing. The 18th century finished with the French Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars, the 19th century with the World War, but in each case, the thing, of course, has done, the change has been made. But the wars made everybody know it and liberated them from not knowing it, not knowing that everything was not just exactly what it had been. I am quite sure that the world's history, the world made up of human beings, is made up in the way of about always a century, and it is determined, that is made by the natural filling up of time from a grandparent to a grandchild. 25 years roll around very quickly. But 4 times 25 years makes a century. A century does not really roll around at all. It makes a complete change, but it does not roll around at all, at least not to anyone's feeling. That is what narrative is. Narrative is 25 years. Rolls around so quickly, but that 100 years do not roll around at all, but that they end. The century ends in being an entirely different thing. And so any century comes to begin, and then it comes to an end. That makes one of the great difficulties of narrative to begin and to end. And I think it has to do with the fact that a century begins and ends, but no part of it begins and no part of it ends. And this serious problem is narrative. I will take up very much, this is a lecture, I will take up very much later, but now first to know what English literature is in connection with English life, and what American literature is in connection with their life and their lives. Because of course, most literature is narrative. That is, in one way or another, the telling of how everybody does anything and everything. To begin with, then, with English literature, what is it? And American literature, what is it? But before going on in this matter, I've been thinking about the Civil War in America, which is going on right now. Yet again, interesting. I've been thinking that the Civil War in America was another case of about a century, 1760 to 1860, 1990 to about 2000. Again, made a grandfather to a granddaughter, a grandmother to a grandson. And so, as usual, everything changed, as it always has done. Very likely, it will do so again. Very likely, a century every so often will do what a century always has done. But to commence again with what English literature has done in telling everything, and what American literature has done in telling everything, and how, although they completely differ from one another, and they use the same language to tell everything that can be happening, it is naturally, very naturally, not at all the same thing. I've already written a lot about what the English people are and what their literature is and how it changed in every century. Not how the English people changed. The English people did not change. That is something that, again, we must remember as a contradiction that makes everything make sense. Once a nation has lived long enough anywhere to be that nation, and that commences very soon after they have come to live where they are, to live the character of that nation can naturally never be changing. When they asked me when I came back to America, "Do you find America changed?" I said, "No. Neither America nor Americans, after all." Could they change to? What would they change to? What, after all, could they change to? And when you ask that, of course, there is no answer. How could there be any answer? After all, how could they change? What could they change to? Different things happen, and at the end of more or less of a century, the different things that have happened makes everybody do all the different things that have happened very differently. But they, as a nation, although they do things differently. Do those different things differently in the way they, as that nation, always has been done them, always will do them. And therefore, any nation's literature is a homogeneous thing, although in every century, everything is different. A little bit from the beginning of Making of Americans. It's kind of a priceless beginning. Once, an angry man dragged his father along the ground through his own orchard. "Stop! Stop!" cried the groaning old man at last. "Stop! I did not drag my father any farther than this point." It is a hard thing. It is hard living down the tempers we are born with. We all begin well, for in our youth there is nothing we are more intolerant of than our own sins writ large in somebody else. Okay. And we fight them fiercely in ourselves. But we grow old. We grow old and we see that those sins, our sins, are all are of all sins really harmless. Harmless. Right? Harmless ones to own. Nay, they give you charm. They give charm to any character. And so our struggle with them dies away. One last. Also, from the very end, so another thing to say about my mother, 107, and when she was a child, she was brought to live with her grandfather. She was born here, but she was brought to live with her grandfather, who was born in 1838, which in the British West Indies was the year of emancipation. So, and then she also met my granddaughter, who was born in 2020. And so in her own life, Sankofa, the 19th century and the 21st century. Trying to find the last lines of this Making of Americans. Any family living can be existing when not to be a dead one. Any family living can be existing when not everyone has come to be a dead one. Everyone in a family living has come to be dead ones. Some are remembering something of some such thing. Some being living, not having come to be dead ones, can be ones being in a family living. Some being living and having come to be old ones can come then to be dead ones. Some being living and being in a family living and coming then to be old ones can come then to be dead ones. Anyone can be certain that someone can remember such a thing. Any family living can be one being existing, and some can remember. Some can remember. Some can remember something of some such thing. Thank you.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Congratulations to Francesca, and thank you to the Paula Cooper Gallery and to Terrence and everyone at 192 Books. I had to limit myself to a time period when trying to figure out what to read because Stein is so incredibly important to me, so I bracketed between 1929 and 1939. Basket. And you'll see there's a slight theme in the beginning and the end. Basket. A lizard is going up the wall with a grasshopper in its mouth. Renew a lease. If there is no mention of having left a part of it thinking lightly of a receipt, it is receded. Does this tell what a shock it has been? Of which? If a dog is happy, his nose is warm. If he is lonely, his nose is cold. Poor dog whose nose is cold. They carefully watched. It was which was as it was not carefully watched. There is no denying that a little was true, that they did send it home for you. It was with them that they had it in their way when they were asked with whom they had it, for it as if with it as a way. Waylay refers to ants who do not refer to bees can be frozen, around losses. Now to wish carefully for every bird. They will not disturb their noses. Basket was his name. This was his name because it was invented by whom it was invented. Remind oneself carefully of every word. Cannot. If they look and seen and leave, they will know what it will look like. Came in hand with pleasure. It makes no difference if they feel as well. By a wire. It makes no difference if they feel as well. How has it held? It has held with their help, with which it has been given. They were very careful not to be pressed to be without it. Very beautiful. He likes to be different. Where and when? And this is the very beginning of history or messages from history. I have to do it, they have to do it, Lynn has to do it, she is awake to bake cake. Apart from a pie, what can she do? She cannot make a pie because she cooks a part of it separately, and this should not be done for a pie. The fruit in a pie should be cooked in a pie. The pleasure of coming here is why they speak as they do. In this time, they will manage not any longer to stay long to buy sugar as they have surpassed them as to their roses. This is how hours point. We are no longer young in weather. It is very remarkable that we are very nearly perfect when we had been mostly troublesome. Now why? We do not know except that we were tired of meals and butter. Butter comes first. The scene opens with a storm followed by rain but no hail. There is expected to be a windstorm, but even so there would be a little coldish air, but not at present wind. They were quietly expectant, but a little irritable. In a night, it made no difference to it that it did not leave it. Which is it? Do you feel well? Does he feel well? He is a little pale. Perhaps he needs more food, perhaps he does. Then he will have it if it is what is when he has need of it. She is very willing to prepare meals for him as well as for them unless it is raining, in which case she is busy sewing. There is no interest in regretting that they are equally regretting that it is not as happy as for an occasion. This is why they are not here, hardly why they mean this by threes. He has not come back. He is there and he has not come back. Do they feel that this is their donation to lending? Alas, no. They are caught because they have won the right to be in meaning. I mean was not said of women. When made a link with then linked with men, linked with a pencil or a pen, linked with a pen wherein chickens are kept. What is it? A scene out of the window with the nightingales singing, beginning their singing, which is intermittent at first. Nightingales means nothing to those who have not heard them, which many in America have not. She wants to read it. Lavender, begonias, heliotrope, pinks, roses, add pansies, although they are not there but near, give a great deal of pleasure in many ways. Will it be that they will think with me? They will think it with me. They will readily be with me. They need to have it be here with me. 5 make 44. We hope they will give us the house. The house. This house. Not their house, not his house, it is her house. But since she does not count it is a house. She does not need it, it is not needed in place of usage. Usage is when they made it do very well for the use of it. It is very well that a little while they will have been happy to go. It is indeed very desirable that in a little while they will have been prepared to have left when they did go. It is not useful if they wait. A little chicken does not prepare to step up. A little chicken is not little. It is without 8 pairs. They move about, any men have pears to sell. Peaches are reasonable. Grapes are to be plentiful. Chickens are scarce. You never can tell by their mistaking who lives in the house. A house is attached to others by the time some have come. Beans are peas, placed so that they change with the weather. Nobody seeds which are washed away. They can be in and out of sight. The dog looks young. And I'll finish with a piece that is in progress called Stein's Dogs, a Composite Portrait. And I'm not going to say anything about it because I think you'll hear what is happening. Stein's Dogs, a Composite Portrait. Once upon a time, there was no dog. If there had been a dog, nobody wept. Some like gardening, some like dogs, a little monkey. Anybody listening to any dog's drinking will see a dog which you have never had before, has sighed. I am I because my little dog knows me, creatively speaking. The little dog knowing that you are you, and you're recognizing your little dog a masterpiece. There are very few of them the human mind can know. A dog can go to sleep standing and not know in some way. Any little dog says so. The dog does run, think how that sentence goes. Dogs do so they mean, but dogs cannot say, I mean, dogs do behave as they please, that is, as they are naturally pleased. That does make some difference between human beings and dogs. But a dog can have tears in her eyes, and you can say to a dog, look, and long does not a dog know that there is a human mind. She knows that there is human nature, remember, about tears and age and memory. When they hear dogs bark, when a dog barks in her sleep, the dog who is asleep and feels like barking, she barks. Any dog can get excited. It has undoubtedly to do with politics, has something to do with everything, like loving any woman, or even a little or a big dog being a relation is one thing. Dogs play whether they want to or not with each other. I say two dogs, but say a dog and a dog. Dogs smell like dogs, and dog that does what it does what human nature does. I am I because my little dog knows me, and so the dog roams around. She knows the one, she knows the dog listens. And is human nature not at all interesting, even if the little dog is a big one? And does a little dog making a noise make the same noise as a bird? The dog answers without asking because the dog is the answer to anything. How finely that is said. Dogs like knowing what they know. Any dog has identity. Thank you.
God, this is so great, right? I can't believe that we get to do this. We just go out and hang out with our friends and stand up at a mic and read our favorite writer. And this book, I have to say, this book is so awesome. I could not stop reading it. I love Gertrude Stein, but it's really the Gertrude Stein book I always wanted to read. So Francesca has done, and it's like, what is the cost? It's probably, I think it must be expensive. But I just think so, like, team up with your three friends, right, and buy it collectively and pass it around and let it all get sexy and dirty, you know, because it really deserves that. So I'm gonna read three things, and one is from Lectures in America, which is the first Stein. I think when I was in college, I think in Harvard Square there was a used bookstore, and I saw this book, and I was like, what is this, you know, and was just so joyous and puzzled about it for years and kept reading it. And I think every time I've taught, I've used pieces, especially Portraits and Reflections. It's so crazy, and the music of it is so good. So I'm going to read a little piece of that. And then from the Faust play that Terence was reading at the beginning, I was like, oh no, Terence, stop, you know. And then a tiny Eileen Myles poem. It's hot. Thank you. That's great. You know, and it's so great that it's like, this is late in her career. So it was like she was the obscure writer, or the salon giver, famous in the New Yorker for being Gertrude Stein, but people didn't know her work except to laugh at it. And she got rejection slips like nobody. If you think you've got a bad rejection slip, you should read what Gertrude Stein got. And then she had the pop star moment of writing autobiography of Alice B. Toklas, and, you know, did the fictionalized self, and then became a star, and then came to America and went on a book tour, and then stood up on her hind legs and told everybody what literature was. So the arc of her career is so amazing. It is very like a frog hopping. He cannot ever hop exactly the same distance or the same way of hopping at every hop. A bird singing is perhaps the nearest thing to repetition, but if you listen, they too vary their insistence. That is the human expression saying, the same thing and insisting, and we all insist, varying the emphasizing. I remember very well first beginning to be conscious of this thing. I became conscious of these things, I suppose anybody does, when they really first know that stars are worlds and that everything is moving. That is the first conscious feeling of necessary repetition, and it comes to one and it is very disconcerting. Then the second thing is when you first realize the history of various civilizations that have been on this earth, that too makes one realize repetition and at the same time the difference of insistence. Each civilization insisted in its own way before it went away. It's like, whoa, are we ever there? I remember the first time I really realized this in this way was from reading a book we had at home of the excavations of Nineveh. But these emotions, although they tell one so much and one really never forgets them, after all, are not in one's daily living. They are like the books of Jules Verne, terribly real, terribly near, but still not here. When I first really, also, I feel like all of us have written sentences that we couldn't have ever written if it wasn't for Gertrude Stein. It's so crazy that we're all so embedded in this. And one never forgets them, after all, are not in one's daily living. Oh, I already read that part. When I first really realized the inevitable repetition in human expression, there was not repetition but insistent. When I first began to be really conscious of it was when, at about 17 years of age, I left the more or less internal and solitary and concentrated life I led in California and came to Baltimore and lived with a lot of my relations, and principally with a whole group of very lively little aunts who had to know anything. If they had to know anything, and anybody does, they naturally had to say and hear it often. Anybody does. And as there were 10 and 11 of them, they did have to say and hear said whatever was said, and anyone not hearing what it was they said had to come in to hear what had been said. That inevitably made everything said often. I began then to consciously listen to what anybody was saying and what they did say while they were saying what they were saying. This was not yet the beginning of writing, but it was the beginning of knowing what there was that made there be no repetition. No matter how often what happened had happened, anytime anyone told anything, there was no repetition. This is what William James calls the will to live. If not, nobody would live. And so I began to find out then by listening the difference between repetition and insisting, and it is a very important thing to know. You listen as you know. Then there is another thing that also has something to do with repeating. When all these 11 little aunts were listening as they were talking gradually, some one of them was no longer listening. When this happened, it might be that the time had come that any one or one of them was beginning repeating. That is, it was ceasing to be insisting, or else perhaps it might be that the attention of some one of them had been worn out by adding something. What is the difference? Nothing makes any difference as long as someone is listening while they are talking. That is what I gradually began to know. Nothing makes any difference as long as someone is listening while they are talking. If the same person does the talking and the listening, why, so much the better. There is just by so much the greater concentration. One may really indeed say that that is the essence of genius, of being most intensely alive. That is, being one who is at the same time talking and listening. It is really that makes one a genius. And it is necessary, if you are to be really and truly alive, it is necessary to be at once talking and listening, doing both things, not as if they were one thing, not as if they were two things, but doing them, well, if you like the motor going inside and the car moving, they are part of the same thing. I said in the beginning of saying this thing that if it were possible that a movement were lively enough, it would exist so completely that it would not be necessary to see it moving against anything to know that it is moving. This is what we mean by life. And in my way, I have tried to make portraits of this thing may try to make portraits of this thing. If this existence this thing is actually existing, there can be no repetition. There is only repetition when there are descriptions being given of these things, not when the things themselves are actually existing, and this is therefore how my portrait writing began. So we have now a movement lively enough to be a thing in itself moving. It does not have to move against anything to know that it is moving. It does not need that there are generations existing. Then we have insistence that in its emphasis can never be repeating, because insistence is always alive, and if it's alive, it is never saying anything in the same way, because emphasis can never be the same, not even when it is most the same, that is, when it has been taught. How do you like what you have? This is a question that anybody can ask anybody. Ask it. Well. And now this is from the Faustus play, which she wrote. She wrote this in 1939, so it was just like during the war, which is very interesting. So I'm just going to jump. You'll get it instantly, as we always get it. Mephisto coming nearer and trying to pat his arm. Yes, dear Dr. Faustus. Yes, of course, you have a soul. Of course you have. Do not believe them when they say the devil lies. You know the devil never lies. He deceives. Oh yes, he deceives, but that is not lying. No, dear, please, dear Dr. Faustus, do not say the devil lies. Dr. Faustus, who cares if you lie, if you steal? There is no snake to grind under one's heel. There is no hope, there is no death, there is no life, there is no breath. There is just every day, all day, and when there is no day, there is no day. And anyway, of what use is a devil unless he goes away? Go away, old devil, go away. There is no use in a devil unless he goes away. How can you remember a devil unless he goes away? Oh, devil, there is no use in your coming to stay. And now you are red at night, which is not a delight, and you are red in the morning, which is not a warning. Go away, devil, go away, or stay. After all, what can a devil say? Mephisto. A devil can smile. A devil can while away whatever there is to give away. And now, are you not proud, Dr. Faustus? Yes, you are. You know you are the only one who knows what you know, and it is I, the devil, who tells you so. Faustus. You fool, you devil, how can you know? How can you tell me so? If I am the only one who can know what I know, then no devil can know what I know, and no devil can tell me so. And I could know without any soul to sell, without there being anything in hell. What I know, I know. I know how I do what I do when I see the way through, and always any day I will see another day, and you, old devil, you know very well, you never see any other way than just the way to hell. You know only one way. You only know one thing. You are never ready for anything, and everything is always now, and now, and now. Perhaps through you, I begin to know that it is all just so, that light, however bright, will never be other than light, and any light is just a light, and now there is nothing more either by day or by night, but just a light. Oh, you devil, go to hell. That is all you know to tell. And who is interested in hell? Just a devil is interested in hell, because that is all he can tell. Whether I stamp or whether I cry, whether I live or whether I die, I can know that all a devil can say is just about going to hell. The same way, get out of here, devil. It does not interest me whether you can buy or I can sell. Get out of here, devil. Just you go to hell. Faustus gives him an awful kick, and Mephisto moves away, and the electric lights just then begin to get very gay. All right, then. And this is a teeny little Eileen poem. When I go like that, it means cross out, because there were words I kept writing that I didn't mean to write. It's called Poet. Israel started bombing Gaza again. I don't know where to put it in relation to the ordinary sadness I feel about this expensive red kettle I bought that whistles. And when it arrived on Friday, when I was in Columbus, they even showed me a photograph of the little square package sitting under the mailboxes in my building. I mean, I have had packages stolen for years, and I never got anything sent here of value. But now my building is filled with shoppers who get boxes and bags of stuff. So I joined in, and I got robbed. I'm back to boiling water in a pot. And I forget pot is not spelled pot. But everything is Gaza, is gone. The sweet dog, the new head, a puppy is leaning against my naked arm. We're vulnerable. Here, months ago, I screenshot photographs of Gaza going home. First, Trump wanted to sell it like a resort. Our president's obscene, a fucking idiot. If I had a whistling pot, I wouldn't forget the water is boiling. I wouldn't burn everything, would I? Must everything burn? If Gaza burns, must everything burn? Don't they know? Do I know? Our president is obscene. I sip my tea. Pot. Must everything burn? Oh, Canada, he says. Oh, Canada is great. Oh, Canada can be a state. Our president is a fucking idiot. Must everything burn? Oh, Canada is great. Pot. Must everything burn? Pot. Must everything burn? And Gaza's going home. Pot. Thank you. Okay.
Hi, everybody. I'm a little shaky. This is a very emotional experience. I broke a tooth yesterday, and a poet thing is also to be superstitious about your mouth. I don't know how I'm going to say the little things that I wanted to say, but I wanted to shout out Triple Canopy in the 2000 teens, who hosted a kind of continuation of the marathons that happened here at Paula Cooper. 2 times I read The Making of Americans as long as I could physically do it. About 3.5 hours in the wee hours of the night. There was nobody in the room except for the staff of Triple Canopy, so I want to thank them. And I want to thank Eileen for that poem, for your poem. How many saints can remember a house which was built before they can remember? 10 saints can. How many saints can be, and land be, and sand be, and on a high plateau there is no sand, there is snow, and there is made to be so, and very much can be what there is to see when there is a wind to have it dry, and be what they can understand to undertake, to let it be, to send it, well as much as none to be behind. None to be behind. Enclosure. None to be behind. Enclosure. Did wish, did want, did at most agree that it was not when they had met that they were separated longitudinally. While it escapes, it adds to it, just as it did when it has and does with it, in that to intend to intensity and sound. Is there a difference between a sound, a hiss, a kiss, as well? Could they grow and tell it so if it was left to be, to go, to see, to saw, to build, to place, to come, to rest, to hand, to beam, to couple, to name, to rectify, to do? Saint Ignatius, Saint Settlement, Saint Paul says, Saint Anselmo made it be not only obligatory, but very much as they did in little patches. Saint Teresa and Saint Teresa and Saint Teresa says, and Saint Teresa might be very much as she would if she were to be wary. They might be that much, that far, that, with that, widen, never having seen and press. It was a land in one when altitude by this to be endowed. Might it be in claim? Saint Teresa and conversation in one. Saint Teresa in conversation and one. Ah, Saint Teresa in, and one and in and one. Saint Teresa left in complete. Saint Teresa and better bowed. Saint Teresa did she and leave bright. Snow in snow, sun in sun, one in one, out. A scene and withers, scene 3 and scene 2. How can a sister see Saint Teresa suitably? Pear trees, cherry blossoms, pink blossoms, and late apples, and surrounded by Spain and lane. Why, when in lean, fairly rejoin, place, dismiss, calls, weather, soil. Saint Teresa refuses to bestow. Saint Teresa with account, Saint Teresa having felt it with it. There can be no peace on earth with calm. There can be no peace on earth with calm. There can be no peace on earth with calm. And with whom, whose with calm, and with whom, whose, when they call it their made message as special and come. This amounts to Saint Teresa. Saint Teresa has been and has been. All saints make Sunday, Monday, Sunday, Monday, Sunday, Monday set. 1, 2, 3 saints. Scene 3. Saint Teresa has been prepared for there being summer. Saint Teresa has been prepared for there being summer. Scene 4. To prepare. 1, a window. 2, a shutter. 3, a palace. 4, a window. 5, an adopted son. 6, a parlor. 7, a shawl. 8, an arbor. 9, a seat. 10, a retirement. Saint Teresa has been with him. Saint Teresa has been with him. They show that summer makes a child happening at all to throw a ball too often to please. This is a scene where this is seen. Saint Teresa has been a queen, not as you might say, royalty, not as you might say, worn, not as you might say. Saint Teresa, preparing in, as you might say. Act 1. Saint Teresa can know the difference between singing and women. Saint Teresa can know the difference between snow and thirds. Saint Teresa can know the difference between where there is a day today, Saint Teresa with the land and laid, not observing, Saint Teresa coming to go, Saint Teresa coming and lots of which it is not as soon as if when it can left to change theirs in glass and yellowish at most of this can be when is it, that it is very necessary not to plant it green. Planting it green means that it is protected from the wind, and they never knew about it. They never knew about it green, and they never knew about it. She never knew about it. They never knew about it. They never knew about it. She never knew about it. Planting it green means that it is protected from the sun and from the wind and the sun, and they never knew about it, and she never knew about it, and she never knew about it, and they never knew about it. Planting it green means that it is protected from the sun and from the wind and the sun and. Seen once, seen once, seen once, seen 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all good children go to heaven. Some are good and some are bad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Saint Teresa, when she had been left to come, was left to come, was left to right, was left to right, was left to left, and there and not there, by left and right. Saint Teresa, once and once, no one surrounded trees, as there were none. This makes Saint Ignatius, Act 2.
So wonderful. So wonderful. And I wanted to recommend, I think Steve Watson might be here, but there's a wonderful on YouTube, 4 Saints in 3 Acts from the original production. Some of you, a lot of us have seen it, but it's very special. And you can go home later. So I'm going to do a couple of things, I think maybe 4 little things, and probably bracket with wonderful love poems, As a Wife Has a Cow, part of that, and Lifting Belly, because this book also includes the great Alice B. Toklas, and that makes this book very special, the way that she's brought in, and lots of things we didn't know, and about the end of her life and all that she was doing for Gertrude. It also takes on the issue, which is very much among, especially a lot of us who travel and teach, the issue around cancel culture. And I just, I tell everyone, there is no way around Gertrude Stein. If you're serious about writing, there's no way, and Pound is in there this way, but, it just has been weird when you go to a conference and, why is this not there? Why is this not there? Not this, not there. So I did want to begin, though, with some notes. When we founded the Jack Kerouac School of Disembodied Poetics, she was one of the first things in terms of the pedagogy of that school. So we had something called the Stein Players. We did a great version of If You Had 3 Husbands, and I wish we had a full video of that, but there's some great pictures and costumes and sets were done by Jane Dalrymple Hollow. And there was a sense also with all of us young writers that she was just among us. And my mother had a book of hers on the shelf. It was just a given. And I went to a college where she was called Silly, so that was an interesting challenge to fun of. Okay, so I will start with, only so many books to carry. I'll start with As a Wife, just part of that. As a Wife Has a Cow, a love story. Nearly all of it to be, as a wife has a cow, a love story. All of it to be, as a wife has a cow. All of it to be, as a wife has a cow, a love story. As to be all of it, as to be a wife, as a wife has a cow, a love story. All of it as to be all of it as a wife, all of it as to be a wife has a cow, a love story. All of it as a wife has a cow, as a wife has a cow, a love story. Has made, as it has made, as it has made, has to be, as a wife has a cow, a love story. Has made, as to be, as a wife has a cow, a love story. As a wife has a cow, as a wife has a cow, a love story. Has to be, as a wife has a cow, a love story. Has made, as to be, as a wife has a cow, a love story. When he can, and for that, when he can, for that, when he can, and for that, when he can, for that, when he can, for that, when he can, for that, and when he can, and for that, or that, and when he can, for that, and when he can. And 2 and 6 and another, and 2 and in and 6 and another, and 2 and in and 6 and another, and 2 and 6 and 2 and in and 6 and another, and 2 and 6 and another, and 2 and 6 and in and another, and 2 and 6 and another, and 2 and in and 6 and 2 and 6 and in and another. In came in there, came in there, come out of there. In came out of there, come out there. In came in there, come out there, and in and came out of there, came in there, came out of there. Feeling or for it, as feeling or for it, came in or come out of there, or feeling as feeling or feeling as for it. As a wife has a cow, came in and come out. As a wife has a cow, a love story. As a love story, as a wife has a cow, a love story. Not and now, not and now, now and now, by and by, not and now, as not, as soon as not, not and now. Now is soon now, now is soon, and now is soon as now. Just as soon, just now, just as soon as now, just as soon as now. And in that, as and in that and in that, so that, and in that, and so that, and as for that, and that, in that, and as for that, and in that, just as soon, and in that, as that, and just as soon as that. Even now, and even now, and even now, not as even now, therefore, even now, and therefore, and even now, and therefore, even now, so not to, and moreover, and even now, and therefore, and moreover, and even now, and so, and even now, and therefore, even now, do they as they do so, and do they do so. We feel, or if we feel, or if we feel, or if we feel, as it is made a day, or two made a day, as it is made a day, or two, as is made a day, not away a day by day, and is made a day. On the 15th of October, as they say, said, anyway, what is it as they expect it, or as they expected it, or they expect it, and as they expected it, expect it, or for it, expected it, and it is expected of it, as they say, said anyway, what is it as they expect for it? What is it, and is it as they expect of it? What is it? So this was from a class, and we called it Mind Gertrude Stein, as in minding the store. So just a few paragraphs. Impossible poetry. So we were looking at stanzas in meditation, a very difficult book to read aloud, actually. Can we be comfortable saying that stanza 16 by Gertrude Stein is arguably one of the most clunky passages ever written, a seemingly impossible text? It is part of a much longer discursive serial poem, Stanzas in Meditation, that Stein wrote during her middle period between 1929 and 1933. Considered one of the most difficult texts of her oeuvre, the whole of the Mammoth Book is a heroic foray into uncharted poetry territory whose only subject matter, act of writing itself, not a magnetizing poem, lusting poem, adorable poem. It's a deadpan bastion of battleship. It's an argument between boredom and attention in the increments of time and language. It is a wild experiment begging patience. It seemed composed by a willful child or someone with a highly charged creative and insouciant sensibility, challenging as it obscures, yet something in stanzas invites readers in, not simply to make sense of it, but actually to stop making sense of it. Oddly, this thrust feels generative. One looks to a stripped-down vocabulary of abstract prepositions, pronouns out from their moorings, and especially to the ubiquitous they, repeated 25 times in this stanza. Who are they, and does it matter? They has entered the lexicon now in a new way. It is a great pleasure to introduce they as a new identity and see through the lens of gender fluidity. What matters to me is the emphasis of this poem off meaning and onto language, grammar, and modest connected words that might be obstinate and willful. As such, it suggests a new way of reading. So anyway, I go on about this class, trying to teach it. My eyes cannot take in the flatness, dullness, almost of language on the page, and I had to hear it, the floating pronouns to give them their proper due. I wasn't reading this lengthy, nearly 200-page serial poem aloud to make sense, rather reading aloud for the class, for the tonal logic, which had an eccentric dance. And so, and we talk about the readings of Making of Americans in this room and at St. Mark's and other places. We were talking about, so we underlined, then we were repeating words and selected stanzas, scoring it, hoping to create a kind of color-coded score, waiting for a breakthrough, but then suddenly it didn't matter. So there was a great pleasure. So this particular stanza, focused here, 16, opens with 10 dull, nondescript, monosyllabic words. 2 uses of the word will. There's a focus. And out of that spins a typical Steinian rhyme, play, still, until. The word will is repeated 10 times and recalls Shakespeare's wordplay around his own name. Will in the sonnets, that was the exercise. And I suggested reading sonnet CXXX5 aloud, then reading stanza 16, listening for a resemblance. So then it goes on, but I'll read the poem now. Urgency, she may make a hero of her own cause for writing, more of a friendship there. She was helpful in her needs. She's nevertheless a sacred monster, especially here and in stanzas. Could I think, will they think that they will, or may they be standing as seated still, for which they will leave it, make it be still, that they will reach for it, which they will, until they should be said to be planned, for which they will, not which they need not plan, not more than will. It is an estimate of ferocity, which they would not know, not with surprise, nor from wish, that they would come at all. May they be mentioned, for which they cannot be only lost. For what they will may be, they may come in, for which they will not, but very likely, but they cannot be from here, from which they will, for they may be with that kind, that is what is, when they can like it as they do, but which they cannot be for them, all made as they are not without it, often left to them to come to arrange this, more than they can at most. It was not that they liked it, it is very kind of them to like it. So we play with that, and I treated them as sonnets. So then something from a piece of mine kind of inspired, and it includes sort of tributes to, sort of dedicated to DePrima and Carolee Schneeman and Kathy Acker and others, Emma Goldman. And I always have Emma Goldman in my mind when I think of Stein for some reason. And also this time span, I remember, was it J. Edgar Hoover was, investigating on the one end, Emma Goldman, and likely could be, anyway, went all the way through to John Lennon, so that, I won't go into that. But it was a memoriam written for Kathy Acker, and it opens with some lines by Lisa Robertson. Sometimes I want a corset, like to harden me or garnish. I think of this stricture, rain, language building as a corset, an outer ideal mold. I feel the ideal molding me. The ideal is now my surface, just so very perfect. I know where to buy it, and I take it off. I take it off. And this is called Mix Up the Cry of Desire. I'm a corset wrecker. Why is it, Kathy Acker, you're Emma Goldman, end of dream? I confess you are a wonderful anarchist. What is it to be a corset maker of labor and purpose, binding the bone and rabble and cotton in a daily sweat of anarchist teen toil? I, Emma, I, Anne, I, Kathy. What is it to know the sweat of us, my sisters? Will heaven give in to defiance? Will heaven rock the defiant? May Day, 1886, a deficit. The workers celebrate and demonstrate disobedience. Our cunts are silver daggers, and matter explodes when she, a they, he, a they, and all a they, and you take off the corset, and the rich girls don't dance. Enter and disrobe their sweet fucking slits. Slits are vices to crush your wealthy patriarchs. Deconstruct the bone and cloth and taxes that bind and fill up the purses of oligarchs. What is a sexy oligarch? I doubt it. This is Sunday, a day off in the piss factory. I was paranoid. You take my reading away. I don't want to be alone with my machines. Oh, Emma. Oh, Kathy. Oh, Hannah Wiener. Oh, Carolee, please bring in the stranger who holds the strings he puts through the aperture of patriarchal factories everywhere. What oligarch wears the corset, inspects the factory, is piles of rubble? While we're the center of the universe, they speak exploitation, can't help but demean. And are they not evil magicians? I, timeless, and I, one with the ghost of dead sisters. Recognize imposters anywhere. I file past the crypt of Uncle Ho. I, an anarchist. I, Emma. I, Kathy. I, Carolee. I, Hannah. I, Anne, fresh in from Russia, where they touch up hideous Stalin. I, with the country in pilgrimage. They call us the American War. How many shrines to author you, Uncle Ho? Constructed jumping identity. I'm on pilgrimage. Image war is not needs. Death is needs, with your universe top of body toys. But image nation, the top of the body soil. Kathy sees this ahead of herself while dead, where a court pronounces 4 anarchists murdered, and Albert Parsons speaks for 8 hours, and I demand the floor. Tiny hands with needles punting, pushing, slamming, the passion in innuendo in the new American century abolished. It's all in, epic, all in an open, resounding no, screaming, I am the defendant, let the words out, abandon cover of the corset constraint, taunt, 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 your tiny hands at the machines. Moon against your heart, you want to escape the factory metabolism. What is it to be a large woman bespeckled in intent in a socialist moment? You want to call it that? Why, you can call it that, and it's so much more, but do call it that, and you will call it that, I'm sure, and call it that, and the most dangerous of violence and terror to incite a riot. What it is to be called trouble, to be forever unpopular with authorities, to be watched, goaded, and arrested, and in lockdown. What kind of terror moment is this? Will it survive an assassinated president, this kind of moment? Will it survive McKinley? Will it survive psychopathic, fractious J. Edgar Hoover? And will the ghosts of Haymarket stalk and tremble the Union Hall? And will Kathy, Queen of Pentacles, and Carolee, and Hannah, and Melina, and DePrima survey these clusters, these mirrors that fracture empire? I live to see, oh, brave sisters, oh, Emma, still in that old purpose, binding cotton, and will that act and buffet, stab of protest and memory arising? Will, oh, my sisters, will it, my sisters? Will that will break the corset that binds the moment? I'll just close with some of Lifting Belly. This is 15 to 17. Part 1. I have been heavy and had much selecting. I saw a star which was low, it was so low. It twinkled, breath was in it. Little pieces are stupid. I want to tell about fire. Fire is that which we have when we have olive. Olive is a wood. We like linen. Linen is ordered. We are going to order linen. Ah, belly, belly, well. Bed of coals made out of wood. I think this May one be an expression. We can understand heating and burning composition, heating with wood. Sometimes we readily decide upon wind. We decide that there will be stars and perhaps thunder and perhaps rain and perhaps no moon. Sometimes we decide that there will be a storm and rain. Sometimes we look at the boats. When we read about a boat, we know that it has been sunk, not by waves, but by sails. Anyone knows that rowing is dangerous. Be all right, be careful, be angry, say what you think. Believe in their being the same kind of a dog. Jerk him away. Answer that you do not care to think so. We quarreled with him. We quarreled with him then. Do not forget that I showed you the road. Do not forget that I showed you the road. We will forget it because he does not oblige himself to thank me. Ask him to thank me. The next time that he came, we offered him something to read. There is a great difference of opinion as to whether cooking in oil is or is not healthful. I don't pardon him. I find him objectionable. What is it when it's upset? It isn't in the room, moonlight and darkness, sleep and not sleep. We sleep every night. What was it? I said, lifting belly. You didn't say it. I said it. I mean, lifting belly. Don't misunderstand me. Do you? Do you lift everybody in that way? No. You are to say no. Lifting belly. How are you? Lifting belly. How are you lifting belly? We like a fire and we don't mind if it smokes. Do you? How do you do? How do you do? The Englishmen are coming, not here. No, an English woman, an English man, and an English woman. What did you say, lifting belly? I did not understand you correctly. It is not well said, for lifting belly, not to lifting belly. Did you say, oh, lifting belly? What is my another name? What is a representative of what? Of the evils of eating. What are they then? They are sweet and figs. Do not send them. Yes, we will. It will be very easy. Part 2. Lifting belly, are you lifting? Oh dear, I said I was tender, fierce and tender. Do it. What a splendid example of carelessness. It gives me a great deal of pleasure to say yes. Why do I always smile? I don't know. It pleases me. You are easily pleased. I am very pleased. Thank you. I am scarcely sunny. I wish the sun would come out. Yes. Do you lift it high? Yes, sir, I helped to do it. Did you? Yes. Do you lift it? We cut strangely. What? That's it. Address it to say that we will never repent. A great many people come together. I don't think this has anything to do with it. What I believe in is what I mean. Lifting belly and roses. We get a great many roses. I always smile. Yes, and I am happy. With what? With what I said this evening. Not pretty. Beautiful. Yes, beautiful. Why don't you prettily bow? Because it shows thought. It does. Lifting belly is so strong. A great many things are weaknesses. You are pleased to say so. I say because I am so well pleased. With what? With what I said. There are a great many weaknesses. Lifting belly. That was it, I said. I can add that. It's not an excuse. I do not like bites. How lift it? Not so high. What a question. I do not understand about ducks. Do not you? I don't mean to close. No, of course not. Dear me, lifting belly. Dear me, lifting belly. Oh yes, all right. Sing. Do you hear? Yes, I hear. Lifting belly is amiss. It is not the way I see. Lifting belly is all right. It is a name. Yes, it's a name. We were right. So you weren't pleased. I say that we are pleased. It is a great way to go. No, not to go, but to lift. Not light. Paint. No, not paint. All the time we are very happy. All loud voices are seen. By whom? By the best. Lifting belly is so erroneous. I don't like to be teased and worried. Lifting belly is so accurate. Yes, indeed. She was educated and pleased. Yes, indeed. Lifting belly is so strong. I said that to mean that I was very glad. Why are you very glad? Because that pleased me. Baby love. A great many people are in the war. I still go there and back again. What did you say about lifting belly? I said lifting belly is so strong. Yes, indeed, it is, and agreeable and grateful. We have gratitude. No one can say we haven't. Lifting belly is so cold, not in summer, nor not in winter either. All of it is a joke. Lifting belly is no joke, not after all. I'm so discouraged about it, about lifting belly. I question. I'm so discouraged about lifting belly. The other day, there was a good deal of sunlight. There often is. There often is here. We are very well satisfied at present. So enthusiastic. Lifting belly has charm, charming. All right. Lifting belly is not very interesting to you, to me. Say, did you see that the wind was from the east? It usually is from the south. We like rain. Sneeze, this is the way to say it. You meant a pressure, yes indeed. All the time there's a chance to see me. I don't wish it to be so. The skirt, the water. You mean ocean water? Not exactly an ocean, a sea, a success. Was it a success? Lifting belly is all there. Lifting belly high. It is not necessary to repeat the word. How do you? I forgive you everything, and there's nothing to forgive. Lifting belly is so high. Do you like lilies? Do you like lilies? Do you like lilies? Use the word. Lifting belly is so high.
Discouraged one. I'm going on describing men and women. I know what. He's of the resisting kind. And men and women, and he's completely an instrument because he's so completely that in a sense he has no volition. But to very many knowing him, he is almost a crazy one. In living out ideas. Yes. It is simply a shutting off from himself of an almost tasteless, senseless feeling of resisting of any other lover, other thing. It is not choice in him of something in volition or certainty. Is the act of choosing. This one, as I am saying, and I know very many who know him, this one, as I am saying, is to very many an obstinate, exaggerated, self-directing, completely self-directing one. I know this one very well in his living. This one in his living is not loving, as mostly men and women are doing who love the attacking kind of them. They are resisting kind of them. The resisting. As if they are of the attacking kind of them. This one, as I'm saying, is his lovingness, completely loving, resisting one like himself. And this one is very interesting. Mostly when one needs heightening of the things in them, they get it from those very lightly. For loving, they need those different from them. For courage and emulation and influencing those like them. And sometimes, some of those like them, and these are mostly Then instrument natures or natures needing pretty complete influencing throughout their being. But this is a very complicated question, an excessively complicated question, and sometime I'm going to write a book, and it will be very long, and it will be all full up, completely filled up with pairs of them, twos of them, sometimes threes, and fours, and fives, but mostly with twos of them, of women, of men, of men, and women. Now it's just a little more of this one. This is sweet, one that I've been doing pretty well. Now I'm living on him. This one is not really succeeding very well in living. This one would not be succeeding very well because not any longer a young man. When he was an older one, and he had not any longer youthful beauty, feeling, and vibration in him. And then, too, he would come to fixed ideas in him. It would be a natural thing for him. And then perhaps later he would come to be a crazy one, or just one that was failing and living. Some like him not so completely vibrating, having some volition in there, might be successful in living. Some like him, having a dulled vibration in them, fairly stupid feeling in them, and much desire for good eating and drinking and sleeping can be successful enough in living. I know some of such of them. Sometime, really truly sometime, there will be a description, a complete description of everyone.
Thank you, Laurie. And one more round of applause for all of the performers tonight. Charles Bernstein, Eric Kaufman, Erica Hunt, Ariana Reines, Anne Waldman, Eileen Myles. Sorry, Eileen. I want to remind you that books are available for sale, and Francesca will be back there signing her book. And I'm sure if you ask one of the performers nicely, they'll sign their books as well. But thank you, everybody.